I first met Tu Holloway, affectionately known as Tu, what I saw was greatness. And I saw greatness in a young dude who was a football player, who was tougher than everybody, who was rougher than everyone, even around the edges. I also saw an incredible competitor who hated to lose more than he loved to win.
I'm just saying, I felt disrespected for them guys to come at me and talk like that.
It was amazing, you know. I wouldn't want to grow up in a better place, you know. Being in Long Island, you know, Hempstead, we have like the most Long Island championships and Nassau County championships, so it's a very rich culture in sports alone, not just basketball.
Coming from Hempstead, Tu did have a modest start. However, he had a huge chip on his shoulder because he always was trying to prove that he was just as good as the kids from Brooklyn, the kids from the Bronx, the kids from Queens, the kids from Staten Island, kids from Manhattan. He wanted to make sure that it wasn't just a Long Island thing. He wanted to make sure that everyone knew that he was good, not just in the 5 boroughs, but in the country.
I remember I met Damon Lillard. We were at Adidas Nations Camp in Chicago in 2010, and nobody knew who he was because he went to Weber State, and like literally he was my roommate at camp, and I remember playing, like competing against him. And I remember telling my dad, like, yo, nobody's better than him. Like, he's the best player in the country. And now you look at, you know, years later, 15 years later, and he's still on top of his game.
When recruiting Tu, the biggest talent that and the need was a leader, true leader. And that at that point, I don't think he believed in himself as much as I believed in him. He was a dude that, again, he put it all on the line, and in between the lines, he wasn't going to be denied. The flip side to that same token, he also was the dude that if there was a shot to be taken, he was shooting. Whether he was one of 10 or all, 10 of 10 or all of 10, he was shooting at 11.
I kind of became a man in Cincinnati, Ohio. Coach Book Richardson, he was my AAU coach on the New York Gauchos in the Bronx. And Coach Book had got the job. I played for him when I was 16 years old, and I got a call from someone. They're like, well, you know, Book is the coach at Xavier, is right near your high school. So we reconnected, and you know, just being with him that year, him being the assistant coach there, me living in that area, it just made sense for me to attend Xavier University. If I knew me, I know if I did what I had to do, I was gonna get playing time. So as to young kids, no one's really gonna promise, they're gonna promise you something, but things change, it's really up to you, you know? So I wasn't promised playing time. I just knew that the 2 starters at my point guard and shooting guard were seniors. So they were graduating. So it was up to me and whoever else was coming in there to come and take that spot.
Tu would speak to me about almost everything. To support his family, I think he not only was worried about supporting his family, he was supporting all of us. You know, and he wanted to make sure that everyone was good. It wasn't just Angie, it wasn't just Swinger. He wanted to make sure I was good. He wanted to make sure Luke was good. Anyone that invested in him, he wanted to invest back in that person. You know, he's an incredibly different dude in between the lines. What he is a superhero. Something about Tu Holloway that I have the right to say, he's a fucking warrior. He's one of the best in the world. He has one of the biggest hearts in the world. He's the ultimate. He is the ultimate teammate. And that's on and off the court. And I think I can also say he's an asshole. And I say that with all due respect because, again, you're trying to win. He's going to do any and everything to win.
Number 8 in the nation. They've had some stiff tests. Still perfect.
Holloway backdoor from Lyons. Last year, Cincinnati won by 20 at home. This year, it's going to be a lopsided win for Xavier in their building. And now an altercation, and this is the last thing you want to see. The bench is clear.
We got disrespected a little bit before the game. Guys calling us out. We're a tougher team. We're grown men over here. We got a whole bunch of gangsters in the locker room, not thugs, but tough guys on the court. And we went out there and zipped them up at the end of the game. That's our motto, zip them up, and that's what we just did to them.
If somebody put their hands in your face or try to do something to you, where we from, you're going to do something back. You know, we're not going to sit there and get our face beat in by somebody like Yancey Gates or somebody. You don't let that happen. And y'all amp it up so much, it's like, y'all make it an animosity. You know what I'm saying? Like, we didn't do this.
Tough guys on the court. We went out there and zipped them up at the end of the game. That's our motto, zip them up, and that's what we just did to them.
If somebody put their hands in your face or try to do something to you, where we from, you're going to do something back.
You have two of my babies, Tu Holloway, Mark Lyons, recruit to Xavier. That day was at Arizona. We played. And you see the carnage, you see the melee, and I speak to two after, and I'm saying, baby, why'd you do that? It's tough to come back from something like that as a 6-foot guard. I still have emotion. I still get fucked up about it because that cost him an opportunity.
Well, hi, Cherie. Well, I was in the room here at the Shoemaker Center when these players, these coaches faced the cameras. But now everyone's asking, will any of these players face criminal charges?
What should have been a celebration of basketball in Cincinnati degenerated into this. It resulted in suspensions, a game name change, and a change of venue. No longer called a shootout, the Crosstown Classic will be played here for the next 2 years in the sterile, neutral environment of the U.S. Bank Arena.
Him and Mark Lyons, 2 NBA guards. I'm not telling you they start, but I'm telling you those guys are NBA guards. And something like that happens. Game, they're up 20 while they're in the game. Kenny Freeze is another kid, you know, I knew, recruited. You know, he and Yancey Gates got into it. But for two, it's an opportunity that I feel that he lost to play the NBA.
From my perspective, mind you, I'm a Cincinnati fan. I grew up watching Cincinnati as a kid when they wearing Jordans, they having black and red unis that match all the Jordans. So I'm a fan of that school to begin with. And then some of the guys that's on the team, you know, Yancey Gates was a guy that's from Cincinnati. I was living in Cincinnati, so I've known him since we was in high school. Sean Kilpatrick being from here in New York, you know, I was playing against him in high school and things like that. Because at the time, I think we was like top 10 in the country. I was like rated the #1 point guard in America. And it was something like, you know, I know those guys personally. Like I said, it's like we share the same city. So just to hear my name being thrown around and mentioned like that, it was just kind of weird to me.
Heading into this game, a lot of smack talk. Tu Holloway. And Sean Kilpatrick had some strong words for the All-American out of Xavier. When asked on a radio show if Holloway would start for the Bearcats, Kilpatrick responded, would he, with the players we have now? I would say no. Early in the first half, Kilpatrick gets hacked on the way to the hoop, and at the free throw line, he hears it from those fans at the Cintas Center. Who's Kilpatrick, they were saying, first half. Xavier down 2 off the miss. Here comes Holloway. Up to the freshman, Des Wells throwing down.
We zip them up. You know, the choice of words at the end. Again, just you question like why put him out there? Why put him on a podium? It's hot. You know, Mark Lyons, he graduated, became a graduate senior, and we took him at Arizona. You know, he at least had another year to try to, you know, clean himself off from that. You know, their play, great characters, great young men. You know, again, too. Again, his dad swing, like, you know, again, I never try to be disrespectful, man. I love Tu like he's my son. And that's where you get fucked up. Because I just wanted him to have a chance at the league, man. And I just think that crushed him.
It was me referring to my teammates and myself as gangsters. That was the comment, which is something that's used every day. And it was more of a mentality of not allowing someone to come and take something of yours. You know, it was meaning that we're at home. That's what, but you know, it was blown out of proportion because, you know, I'm a young black kid, you know, playing basketball or doing certain things, and you know, things could get blown out of proportion. If it wasn't so much of a brawl, if it were just a regular game and I used those words, everything would have been okay. But for you to actually see kids out there bloody, fighting, that's where it turns the trajectory of what was said.
It's an opportunity that I feel that he lost to play the NBA. That's not politics. That's no one's not reading into it. That's what someone sees if I'm an NBA general manager. You know, is your talent bigger than your problems? I went from the same people who on you know, the news, media, man, I'm the best point guard in the country, to now saying, you know, I'm a killer, and not in a good way.
I was invited to the NBA Combine. I kind of was hearing that I wasn't going to get drafted because of that. Like I said, that situation was so monumental and negative. It was just nothing but negativity that was connected to me at that time. So I knew we were like in an uphill battle to try to get drafted, but fortunately enough, you know, being able to still play overseas and things like that is an option for basketball players. I played in the summer league. So I played the summer league, Dallas Mavericks, and I got invited to training camp. And they wanted me to go to their G League a team, the Texas Legends. But at that point, you know, being misinformed, I didn't realize I was supposed to go take the less money and go do that. You know, I just said, oh, I'm gonna go to Europe. So I went to Turkey. You know, I got waived, I come home, and then like within 2 days, you know, I signed a contract to go to Turkey. It was kind of like traumatizing, to be honest with you. Those experiences are traumatizing because, you know, they put you in an environment that you're not used to being in. You know, sometimes you go from, you know, I went from being here in New York, eating what I want, doing what I want, and then you go to a place to play ball, and then you got to deal with politics, or you got to deal with, you know, I couldn't sleep for like the first 3 or 4 months I was there, because I feel like being overseas preserved me.
I never had that feeling that if Tu didn't figure it out right now, he'd lose everything. Because I know his resilience, his strength, right? I know who he is as a person. I know who he is as a basketball player. He's one of the strongest dudes I know on this planet. Watching what he did, the fact that he's still doing it, at a really high level, again, it shows you who he is as a player, as a person, how smart he is, how resilient he is. Like I said, I watched him a couple of years ago. We would have open runs in the Gauchos gym, but I watched him come in here and I watched him demolish some guys, and I just looked and shook my head. It was like, it's the same old Tu.
When I'm overseas, like America don't even exist, and that's what keeps me mentally strong. Where out of sight, out of mind. If I'm able to be constantly thinking about home, if I spent my career I'm an honest man. 9 times out of 10, I had to play overseas for 12 years, basically because I wasn't good enough to play in the NBA. So that's the truth.
It's maturity, you know, and I think he's come to grips with this is why it didn't happen. Nothing more, nothing less. You know, if I was talented, I would have been in there. You know, again, you have some guys that's been through some woes. You know, who's had maybe not the easiest pass or checkered pass who's played, and you know he's looking at it. I'm not going to blame anyone other than I wasn't good enough.
You know, I just kind of transformed the person I was, as far as my mental state, my mental stability, how I like thoroughly think through things before I say and speak. Now I don't play with words anymore. Like if I say something, I mean it. I know what I said. So you know, I feel like it definitely changed because you know we all live life with what ifs, you know, and the what ifs could really, you know, it could plague how you are as a human being if you could allow what ifs to just stop you all the time. So yeah, it's a thought of maybe if that didn't happen, if we continue to win and everything is flourishing, I don't get the negative media attention, maybe who knows if I get drafted at that point, which, you know, you see anybody today and they say, oh yeah, he was definitely going to be this or definitely going to get drafted that. But like I said, at this point in my life, I'm thankful for where I am today. I'm still able to provide for my family. I'm still able to make a living playing basketball, and going into my 13th season now at 35 years old is a blessing.